Welcome everyone to episode 62 of the Phoenix Report. I am Jack Connor, and as we record this, it is April 1st, 2020. I know it's a very strange time in the world right now with the coronavirus and everyone being home. The silver lining is I've gotten to do this podcast a little bit more. I haven't really done this in a while. I've been a pretty busy guy lately, but I'm looking forward to doing it because this guy I've wanted to have on the show for a while now. He's a guy I've kind of known a little bit over the years. I mean, his band and my band have certainly played together quite a bit, but I've never really gotten the chance to kind of sit down with him one-on-one and just kind of have a regular conversation with the guy, which is great. I've had some of his bandmates and former bandmates on the show a couple times. I've had Colin Morrison and David Marfitt, who's no longer in his band, but I've had both those guys on the show quite a bit, so I'm finally glad to have him on. He is the lead singer and founding member of Breathing Theory, who's one of Central Florida's most popular bands, most popular hard rock bands. Certainly one of the most popular bands that I've played with locally. And it's really an honor for me to have this guy on. And please welcome Cory Britt.
Hey, how's it going, Jack? How's it going to all the listeners? Hope everybody's staying safe and away from this coronavirus thing.
Yeah, man. How has this whole experience been for you? I know, I know you've been, still been able to do your job, but probably haven't been able to, like anyone else, haven't been able to do all the things that you'd like to do.
Well, I mean, it sucks because we've had to cancel. We've already had to cancel a show, and I say it sucks, but it's definitely it's 50-50 for me because I'm already naturally a super reclusive person.
Right.
So being such a introvert and homebody, and I'm already somebody that likes to kind of keep to myself and stay at home. So that part's cool. I've been obviously doing my best just to kind of deal with not being able to go out. I was thinking about it last night. I haven't had Mexican food in months now, and it's gonna be even longer because I can't even go inside of a Mexican restaurant and sit down. And who wants to get Mexican takeout? That's just no fun.
Well, I mean, I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, takeout's always an option, but I guess maybe not if you're looking for that genuine experience.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could. Hey, let me get a Mexican dish and take it home. But I feel the zeal of it is kind of ruined. So I'm just well, I'll just wait until I can actually sit down and get some good old Mexican food and chips and salsa.
Gotcha.
My job was actually deemed essential. I worked for a media communications company.
Okay.
So basically, because we are we're the matrix to the world. We provide the matrix to the world. So it's I have to go to work. But they're watching it. They're watching it real close. And every week we get updates as far as whether or not we're gonna cease activity and stay home or not. But,
sure.
For the most part, outside of work, yeah, I'm definitely staying inside, staying safe, and just staying away from people. I know in the beginning of this, people were still going out to bars and going out and doing stuff. But I'm glad that we've seen enough. We've seen enough of it that a lot of people are finally staying home, and a lot of businesses have closed the doors and they're not letting people inside, so that's good.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean there are definitely pros and cons to it, of course. I'm not even sure what do you do at your job, by the way. I'm not really familiar with your day job, for lack of a better term.
So actually, fun fact: me, Colin, and Rob all work for Spectrum.
Really?
So the three of us are we're on two different teams. Colin and Rob are on one team, and I am on another team. But basically, our job is just we are sales reps. So we go out and kind of connect with the customers that need internet, that need need maybe a new phone connection, or they're not satisfied with their TV connection. Like we we essentially provide that connection and get them service.
Gotcha. So you guys are techs. Do you do installations and come in and do check on things if the connection isn't working?
No, we are actually not the tech.
Okay.
We're just like we're the service. I mean, we're like the sales reps. So, we're the person that you would talk to before you actually get the installation and get the service provided. So
you work the call center.
Pretty much, I would go to your door and present you with the offers that are available for your address, and we would talk about it. If it was something that saved you money, or it sounded like it was a better deal for you, or you just wanted to get a faster internet, or whatever the case may be, I'm the person that gets you that connection and gets you set up for an actual install tech to come out and hook you up, basically.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's interesting. I was always curious about that. One thing that I remember is that certainly a few years ago, Breathing Theory did quite a bit of touring regionally, sort of in the Midwest and up and down the East Coast. I don't know if you guys have been doing that in recent years, or if your job or how your job feels about that sort of thing. If they give you plenty of time off, how have you guys been able to work around that?
Well, that's another good thing about this job. Pretty much, they are flexible with us for the most part. It's kind of like this with our job. If you're doing good, if you're doing well, and they're seeing the expectations met out of you that they want you to meet. They don't really, it's not a job where I have to clock in and have a boss looking over my shoulder every day. And I don't even have a boss I have to report to every week. It's just mainly one of those things where, as long as we're out there doing what we need to do, they kind of, they flex with us a little bit. And I think we get, after your first year, I think you get 2 or 3 weeks paid vacation. And you get personal and sick time to use. But for years, man, we toured for years. I remember in 2012. Being just absolutely excited and nervous all in one, because we were ready to do it. We were tired of holding back, and me and my old lineup, we were all let's just quit our jobs and let's just get on the road. We'll stay. We'll stay at friends' house. We'll stay with parents. We'll stay with people we know. Let's just go on tour and start spreading the name out there. And I will never ever trade those experiences, because I fully feel like those years of touring really helped catapult us as a band, because not a lot of bands make that leap. Not a lot of bands are able to just quit everything and go on tour for years and years, and that's what we did. We toured probably from 2012 all the way up to 2016ish, and we did. Obviously we had part-time jobs in and out, and we all would come home and make a little bit of money and then go back on the road, because being out there on tour, everybody. I've had people ask me, I thought you guys were rock stars and blah blah blah, and it's the concept of being a touring band. People think that, oh, you made it, you must have made it.
Yeah, they think that's your job.
Yeah, and I think people's perspective of that is oh, well, you're touring, so that must be your job. You must be making money. And I've had people approach me that are oh, I thought you were full-time musician. I'm wait, you don't understand. In today's music industry, you have to have like a substantial amount of fans to really even make money. Because
Absolutely.
you got to think, on tour, you're traveling thousands of miles. That's gas. You got to pay for everyone to make a paycheck. You got to pay for everyone to have a place to sleep. Like, there's a lot of money that gets dumped out into touring, and then you still have to come home with enough money to like pay your bills. So we were fortunate, over the years to have friends that allowed us to stay with them, and people that basically supported the cause. But it just got to a point where all of us were not as much fun and as much love we had for doing it. Still today, I miss it. Like I can't even describe. Like if someone was like, hey, we're gonna just pay you guys to go back on tour full time, I would go tomorrow. But once you realize that financially, it's just not. It's not feasible until your numbers are a certain status, as far as social media goes, as far as like your online streams, your your YouTube subscribers. Like, all of these numbers have to be legit to a certain status before you can take it on the road and actually financially continue to grow. Because what happens is like being out there on the road, like, yeah, you're getting by, the tour is getting paid for, and you're coming home with maybe a little bit of money in your pocket, but it's just not enough to turn around and put money back into the craft. It's not enough money to turn around and like, repress new merch, or, take care of your bills at home, or your equipment's breaking down. You gotta have money to repair it. Like, there's a lot of finances behind all of it. I mean, just having like a driver alone. I went on a tour. I went on a tour back in like 2013 where we actually took a tour bus and had a driver, and I think they were paying that guy like, I swear they were paying that guy like $1,000 a week to drive the bus.
Wow.
And
yeah.
I'm just thinking, like,
that's a good chunk of change.
like we couldn't afford to pay a driver $1,000 a week. We barely could afford to pay a driver $200 a week. So once you really start realizing the finances and stuff, man, like we had to come home and get back to like real life and having jobs and paying bills, and it's just the way of the world, man. It's the way of the music industry. Like maybe 15 years ago, 15 years ago, maybe we could have survived a little bit longer, but it's all about money and numbers and all that kind of stuff. So unfortunately, right now we have ceased touring as much.
Well, I mean, yeah, and honestly, it's not, and just for you guys, I mean, obviously you guys are at a certain level, but even veteran bands that have been around for a long time and who even have had a degree of success or a degree of name value, there are a lot of guys who they'll do like fly-in shows over the weekends, and they'll have their jobs during the week, and it's a lot of older bands will do this, of course, but they'll fly in and they'll rent gear locally, and do it like that, even as opposed to like full blown touring, because maybe just the money isn't there or whatever it is. So but yeah, you bring up an excellent point as to how difficult it is, and the fact that you guys were able to do it as long as you did is really impressive, and it's definitely paid off for you guys. Like I'm seeing like you guys have at least like over 20,000 followers on Facebook alone. I'm not sure what the numbers are on Twitter and Instagram, but that's really impressive for essentially a local band to have done that. And not only that, to have fans, from almost all over the country. I think you had a couple guys come down from Canada at your last House of Blues show. It was pretty impressive.
It honestly I have to sometimes stop and take a step back and really look at how far it has spread. You know what I mean? Like even from time to time, like because we all connected to our band page, So, like, every now and then, we'll get messages from people that pop up from, like, Russia and, like, the UK. And, like, I know right now we got some fans over in Finland, man, that constantly are, like, asking us, when are you coming to Finland? When are you coming to Finland?
No kidding.
And I'm sitting here thinking, like, I'll never be able to answer that question because, it's so far away. But it's just amazing to me that we have reached fans even to that length of distance. And,
that's incredible, man. That's so awesome to have, like, people from Finland reaching out for you to come play shows there. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, and like, sometimes I feel kind of like a failure because I've always told myself as a teenager, like, you're going to be a famous rock star by, like, you're going to be a rock star by, like, 25, you know what I mean? And I used to tell myself, like, well, if you're not there by, like, 30, then you just need to, like, walk away from it. And sometimes I'm like, oh, man, I feel like a failure, like I never got as far as I wanted to. I didn't get as big as I wanted to. But if you actually take a step back and think about the accomplishments that we have, actually achieved and the things that we have actually done, it's a lot to really stand beside and say, like, dude, we have played with some of the biggest bands in our country. We played with 3 Days Grace. We played with Evanescence. We played with all kinds of bands at, like, festivals and stuff like that. And we've gotten to, like, share these stages with them. And then, like I said, having these fans all the way from Finland to the Philippines that message us from time to time and say, hey, we like the new music or whatnot. And you really just have to stop and go, wow, like, maybe I'm not such a failure. We've actually done okay for a goal that I set out to accomplish in high school. But
absolutely. I think it all comes from starting off with small goals. And you've checked a lot of different boxes over the careers, and certainly gotten a lot farther than most guys ever get. So it's definitely something to be proud of, and something that years from now you'll be able to look back and say, like, wow, yeah, I did that, and I was able to. And you have all these records out, videos, and everything. That's something that no one's ever going to be able to take away from you. Yeah, hopefully. I mean, if you ever get in that place where you feel like, oh man, I'm not. I feel like I screwed up. You can always look back on that and just hopefully take a little comfort in knowing what you've been able to do over the years.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I've had, there was a time a couple years ago where I was super depressed because we basically were, like, promised a record deal and all these kinds of things by somebody who was, I don't think he ever really had the clout to be talking about a record deal to begin with. Mm-hmm. But
sounds like a lot of guys in our business.
Yeah. I've learned over the years you can only trust like 3 people out of, like, 100 people in the industry.
Right.
But basically the rug got pulled out from under us, and we never got, like, this big Atlantic Records deal, and it kind of crushed me. I was like 28 years old, 27, something like that. Mm-hmm. And I just, like, fell apart from it. I was like, man, like, here I was standing at the threshold of my career, and it just got snatched out from underneath me. And I really had to fight my way back to realize, you know what? Maybe your destiny is not to be some famous, huge rock star. And maybe that never will happen. Maybe it never will. And I had to kind of remind myself that as much as you want something in life, doesn't mean you're always going to get it. And if you allow yourself to just drown in this feeling of, I didn't get what I wanted, I'm worthless, and you allow that to kind of consume you, then it will. And I just reminded myself, like, we toured the country. We made fans all over the country. We got fans all over the world. We're playing stages like House of Blues and packing the place out. People people constantly are saying how much like they love our songs and stuff, and I just had to take a step back again and be like, okay, so maybe I didn't get exactly what I wanted, but there's still fruit that's growing, and there's still things that are prospering from this. It's just a crazy world, man. It's a crazy time, like, going from being a band that was touring regularly. Like, I kid you not, like every few months we were focusing on the next tour and where are we going, and I was, getting the van ready and just super excited to pack my bags and go. And now all of us are back to living normal lives and working jobs and just doing everyday kind of things. And it's just a weird, it's a weird world out there now with the music industry and everything surrounding it. So I mean, I've seen, like we were talking about the finances and stuff. We played one of our buddies that we're friends with up in actually they're from like New Jersey, but there's a band called 40 Below Summer, and we're friends with the guys in 40 Below Summer.
I've heard of that band.
They used to be. I mean, they were underground, but they were a big underground band.
Yeah.
And so we got to hang out with Max, and we got to talk to the guys. They played the Ink and the Clink, aka Incarceration Festival with us twice.
That was in Ohio somewhere, right?
Yeah, that was in Ohio at the Mansfield Reformatory prison that they like shut down there.
Okay.
But we got to talk to them a little bit about it, and we were just like, man, like your album was in stores. You guys were playing huge rooms, like probably like House of Blues and bigger. And it's just like, why did you guys give it up? And they will pretty much all tell you, like, the money just isn't enough to support a family and a home life.
Yeah.
And having to be gone all the time definitely takes a toll on your family and your home life. And so, with the stress of finances and the stress of being gone, something's got to give. So,
sure.
Even them guys, they don't tour anymore. They just play like one-off shows on the weekends and stuff. And it's stuff like that that really makes you realize just how fickle the music industry is, man.
And that's really affected almost every level of the industry as far as rock bands go. I mean, how many rock bands even are at that level nowadays in 2020? It's very tough to find too many of us that are really making that big money out there. It's rock and roll is in a weird place right now, just across the board.
I keep wondering. This is something I've wondered, and I've actually seen other people post about it as well. Like it's almost like they keep resurging all of the same bands. Like how long is Shinedown gonna be like one of the biggest names in the world before they start pushing new bands? You know what I mean?
Right, and those guys are like 20 years in now.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about dudes that are like almost in their 50s, if not already in their 50s, and it's like, when are the record labels, and when are they going to start like taking advantage of an opportunity to like start pushing bigger names? Because everyone will tell you that you don't need a record label nowadays, and you truly don't.
Mm-hmm.
The record label is pretty much just a piggy bank.
Yeah.
So nowadays, if you got money behind you, you can do everything yourself. You can pretty much playlist yourself, you can catalog yourself, you can campaign yourself on the radio. Like, it all comes down to money. But I do wonder from time to time, how come these record labels don't find newer bands and go, hey, we just want to like start fresh with you guys as a brand, and basically make them the next not Nickelback, but the next Shinedown.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, I wonder when these labels are, because over the years, like certain labels just kind of have plummeted. Like they're not even even the same out there anymore.
I mean that's something I could talk about for hours. I think a lot of it has to do with having a vehicle and a platform for your music. Just putting out music there, I don't think that's enough. I think you have to have some way that gets people's attention. And whether it's a TV show, a video game, a movie, or something that gets something that delivers. I mean, radio obviously is still a big thing. People still listen to terrestrial radio more than satellite radio, even. But I think it's just being in the right place at the right time, and connecting with people, and certainly knowing the right people as well. So. I wish there was one answer to it, but there's a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, and like I said, I just kind of obviously with what happened to us, I just kind of stepped back and was like, you know what? We'll just do everything that we can ourselves. And if it ever blows up, or it ever gets to a point where it's making us more money, then yeah, we'll go back on tour. But as of right now, we're just gonna keep doing what we're doing, putting music out, and because I mean, really, at the end of the day, there's two things that you want to do. You want to provide music for your fans to listen to and enjoy, and you want to build to put back some energy into it and perform for them, so they get to actually physically see you represent those songs and whatnot. So
sure.
Eventually we hope to get back out there and at least do some small touring, so small run.
Absolutely. Cory, I want to get to sort of how Breathing Theory came about. I know that it sort of was born out of an earlier band that you started when you were in high school called Burn the Sky. And I believe you were playing guitar and singing for that as well. How did Burn the Sky end up giving birth to Breathing Theory?
So, fun fact, from high school, I started writing music for the band to be probably around 14. I started at a really young age trying to write songs and trying to develop music and whatever, but I really honestly started getting to a place where I was able to structure a song and put together an arrangement around 15. So back then, we went through a couple names. I'm not even going to talk about it, but we went through a couple band names. We did a couple demo CDs, and by the time I was 18, I just was over all of it. I didn't like the sound of my voice. I didn't like the way I was writing. The stuff that I was writing on, the stuff that I had written on guitar just didn't really seem like it was good enough to me. So pretty much our first two demos, I just trash canned them. Mm-hmm. And the only songs that in the beginning days as Burn the Sky, because this is around 18, 19. I'm still playing guitar. We had a drummer, my old bass player. So we were a lot like Chevelle, 18, 19. And
all right, just a trio.
I moved down here to Central Florida from North Florida. And before that, I was in North Carolina for a handful of years. But
is that where you grew up, North Carolina?
Yeah, my dad's always been from North Carolina, and my mom was from Florida. So from 8 years old to 15, I was in North Carolina.
Gotcha.
And then around 15, I came back to Florida, and that's kind of where the band started actually taking it.
Mm-hmm.
But we're talking slow turtle movement. And then by 18, I had moved down here, and I was like, all right, we've taken enough time getting ourselves off the ground. I mean, because you got to think, I started realizing that at 18, 19, I started realizing there was already bands my age that were established and playing shows and recording CDs that, people were listening to, and I was like, man, we got to get on the ball. So we started booking shows, pretty much everywhere, all over Cocoa Beach, all over Brevard County. We played a couple places in Orlando in the beginning, but again, this is around the time that I was still playing guitar, a lot of the shows in the very beginning, and I only took a few. I think I only took Fireflies and Parasite. I think were the only two songs that I brought with me from the first two demo CDs.
Gotcha.
The rest of the songs got scrapped, and then in 2009, 2010, we did this whole transfer from 2009. We did this transfer from a 3-piece to a 4-piece because one of my old high school buddies came down and took over on guitar. He was actually one of the original lineup members when we first became Breathing Theory, but he came down, took over guitar. We expanded to a 4-piece. We did some shows like that, still as Burn the Sky. We won like the Battle of the Bands in Orlando, like one time, and then by 2010, I really started like thinking like, our music doesn't sound like a band that you would call Burn the Sky. It just didn't sound, it sounded way like heavier than the music that we were kind of putting out. And so I came home one day from work and I was like, how do you guys feel about the band name? And they were like, I don't know, it's whatever. And I was like, well, what if we change this to Breathing Theory? Like, how do you guys feel about that? And everybody was pretty much on board. They agreed that it was catchier, that it was a better sounding name. And so from then on, like late 2010, we had, we made the name switch. I think it was actually right before we made our new Facebook page. So we timed that perfectly. But so we became Breathing Theory right at like late 2010, and then the Parasite EP was getting finished, recorded, and then we put that out in 2011. We released Fireflies, and then boom, we were Breathing Theory. But throughout that transition, though, man, like there were a couple different lineup changes. Like we had to have like a fill-in guitarist because we did. That's actually when Rob joined the band. That's another fun fact.
I've been meaning to ask you about that because I wasn't sure. Was Rob part of the original Breathing Theory lineup, or did he come after that?
Well, yeah, like so, another twist in the story. So as I said, my buddy came down and we became a 4-piece. But then we started like dynamically wanting to write a little bit more, a little bit better. So we put an ad on Craigslist and was like, band looking for guitarists, message us, or whatever for an audition. So Rob actually showed up at our apartment and we were like, what's up, man? He was like, hi, I'm Rob. Like, I just want to try out. So Rob tried out, and he was a great guitarist. And we were just like, hey, he's chill, he's good. So Rob actually was a member of Burn the Sky for about, I want to say Rob was a member of Burn the Sky for about 6 months to a year.
Right.
But then something happened, and he, very soon after, I don't know, he got busy with work or moved away for a little while or something. But he left the band, and then our another buddy from high school came down and joined us and became the second guitarist. But like I said, in between there was definitely some transition points, man. We had some fill-in drummers, having to help out. We had some couple fill-in guitarists having to help out. There was some years, man, where it was like chess pieces, like just to keep the game moving.
Absolutely.
Just to keep the game moving, I had to like keep pieces on the board. You know what I mean? So
of course.
We were like using this drummer to get through these couple shows, and using that guitarist to help with these couple shows, and we didn't actually solidify until I think 2011. That's when we were the old official lineup, and we started touring that way. We did our first few tours that way, and
Gotcha.
then as of 2014, that's when all the new guys one by one started taking the new member slot, and then Rob came back. So it all kind of worked out, man.
There you go. I mean, you know, it's a crazy thing, especially when you start something, when you kind of give birth to it, and you know, unfortunately, not everybody sticks around for whatever reason it may be. But to keep it going it's a very difficult thing, especially because you're not sure how people are going to accept it. If people are going to look at you differently for like, why don't you just call this something else? And you know, I mean, that's something certainly I've been going through over the last couple of years. But you know, I know you had done that for a while, and it's worked out certainly for you. And you know, certainly Breathing Theory has continued to have guys come and go, and sometimes come back. But you know, the lineup right now is pretty strong. I know you recently got Kegan back on drums full time, and you know, things are going good. You guys are still recording new music, still putting stuff out. How many EPs and albums have you guys had out so far?
So the Parasite EP came out in 2011. We followed that with years of touring, and then the whole split with the old lineup. And then in 2015, we released Uprise Part 1, Uprise Part 2.
Sure. And
then as of late, January of this year, we came out with the Balance album. So I technically, Uprise was always supposed to be one full-length album, but Joey Danger, our producer at the time, you know, he was just trying to do it. He was trying to work with us in the middle of like having to do his own work and his own stuff. So we got kind of caught in like a delay gap where he was just too busy to get it all finished. And we ended up splitting that up into 2 EPs. So technically, we released 3 EPs and 1 album. But I always intended it, you know, Uprise to be released as an album. So you could say we have 1 EP and 2 albums.
Sure. I mean, it depends on however you want to look at it. Really, it's you know, it's like what is that? What is LP and EP? What does that even mean nowadays? You know.
Yeah, exactly. And nowadays, honestly, people don't so much care about albums as much as they care about like good singles that they can listen to. So
absolutely.
We just kind of do that.
Yeah. Well, this is cool, man. I know Balance just came out earlier this year. I know you're really proud of that. I know once all this nonsense with the virus is lifted, I know you guys are looking to play out again and continue to do what you guys do best. And honestly, man, this has been really cool for me to kind of talk to you and just kind of have this one-on-one time, because you know, I mean, I've known Colin and Dave for the longest time, and you know, we've certainly, you know, interacted over the years, but like we've never really got to sit down like one-on-one and just kind of talk to each other. So this has just been really cool for me.
Well, I'm always glad to get a chance to like kind of share some of the backstory, because people truly like. I know some bands are kind of cut and dry. You know, oh, we started the band. Oh, we've been doing this for this amount of years. Everybody's still the same. Blah blah blah. But like, really, honestly, man, like the twist and the story behind just how much has happened over the years, and how I was able to just kind of keep my focus and stay a part of this. It is really a crazy story, you know, even down to the extent of like Rob and Kegan coming back. You know, Kegan was one of the last members to leave in 2014, and he always said, like, hey man, I'm not quitting the band, but because you guys aren't touring anymore, I just can't, you know, I can't feasibly like be a part of the band as much.
Well, yeah, like he lives in Ohio, for God's sake. Like I still don't know how you guys do it.
Yeah, it's super difficult, but you know, we were lucky enough to have our buddy Jacob Harris. He took over for quite a while. we had a fill-in, a guy named Aaron Warren. He filled in for a while, and then, I mean, we've just been through drummer after drummer, man. We had, we had Mike Batista for a little while.
Now, did Mike play on the last album? Because I know he did at least one of the videos with you guys.
No, he did do the Nothing video, but most of those songs were already, like drum-wise, were already kind of done.
Mm-hmm.
Mike just kind of came in and learned the parts and stuff, but, Mike was there helping us for a while. We got to give a shout out to Graham, because Graham Weeks he's always kind of down to step in and help us whenever we get in a bind.
Sure, yeah. Graham Weeks also plays in the band Earn, and he's done some fill-in work for you guys from time to time.
Yeah, and honestly, without him, there has definitely been times where, without him, there's definitely been times where we would have been stuck. And,
sure.
But it came down to the thing with Kegan. It just came down to, everybody felt like the I don't know, I guess the heart, the soul of the band, like, just wasn't the same, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. There is something to be said for having the right chemistry.
Exactly. Like, you can try to substitute certain chemicals all day, but at the end of the day, it's got to taste right, it's got to feel right, and after many drummers and many experiences with different drummers, we just kind of circled back to, like, Kegan will forever, like, be the drummer that just makes this band. He's literally like the last ingredient that you need to make the cake taste awesome.
I gotcha.
Know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can try your best to use margarine instead of butter. You can try your best to use water instead of milk, but he is that final ingredient that just makes breathing soup, and we've all come to accept it. Like, without him, it just never feels the same. So we were glad to know that he wanted to come back, because at first, man, he was, when this whole lineup switch happened, he was very much like, hey, I'm not really sure because I don't know any of these new guys, so I'm not really sure if I want to come back to the band, because, he was like, I don't know any of those dudes but you, man, so it might be just too weird for me. And I had to kind of tell him, like, Kegan, like, these guys wouldn't be in the band if I wasn't cool with them. So, like, get down here, jam with us, meet these guys.
Was Kegan part of the original lineup of Breathing Theory?
Kegan actually was. Kegan became our actual official drummer, like, the last year of the old lineup.
Gotcha.
So, like, we basically brought him in as the official drummer right before the last year, and then all the old members disbanded.
Gotcha.
So, but we got a chance to, while we were on tour, Jake Harris was out with us, and while we were on tour, we got a chance to all hang out, and Kegan started realizing, like, I like everybody in the band now, and if it ever gets to a point where he was able to come back, he was definitely interested. So we kind of just kept him in the back of our heads and was like, hey, man, if it gets to that point where we feel like it's necessary to switch back, we'll give you a heads up. And it just, it got to that point, and we were like, hey, man, if you want to come back, now is the time. So that's what ended up happening. But like I said, it has been a long, long road and a lot of changes. I'm actually surprised sometimes that I'm still here. Crazy.
Well, very cool, man. Well, it's certainly been for the better, and you can't. There's no substitute for experience like that. So this has been great, man. I know you're usually a private guy. So, but I appreciate you talking to me and sort of opening up, and I'm sure all your fans listening are gonna love hearing all this backstory. So, but very cool, man. So where can people find yourself and Breathing Theory online, on social media and everything? Go ahead and plug away.
Well, I definitely appreciate you having me and allowing me to kind of tell a brief excerpt of the story for us. They can keep a lookout on our YouTube channel. They can our Instagram page. It's going to be the page with all the recent House of Blues pictures and stuff. Our Spotify, you can find us on Amazon Music. I do believe the Nothing is on Pandora. We are on iHeartRadio. Obviously, our Facebook page. Please give us a like and stay in touch with us. We're constantly working on something. It's very rarely does a week go by that we're not working on something. So I appreciate you guys having me and listening, and everybody that's tuning in to kind of follow along with what's been going on with us. And I hope everybody stays safe with this coronavirus mess.
For sure, man, for sure. And we had such a blast playing with you guys again back in March and at the Crying Monk in Cocoa. Hopefully we can do it again real soon.
That was honestly, I'm glad you mentioned that. That was so perfect timing, because none of us really knew that this whole outbreak thing was going to happen, and we got that one last big show before having to stay at home and quarantine and whatnot. So I'm definitely glad that the tips fell into place where you guys got to be on that show. I think it was fate. You know what I mean?
Well, for sure, man. I appreciate you calling me and asking us to do it. I mean, that really meant a lot to me. And, like you said, it was sort of serendipitous, that this happened before all this craziness started happening. Hopefully, once it's all over, we'll get to do it again.
Yeah, I mean, we've already talked to the owner of the Crying Monk, and he most definitely was like, dude, I would love to have you guys back every few months or something if we can make it work. So once all this stuff is over, we will definitely get back to some more shows. But for now, I did forget to say that our new merch website, it's merchlive.com. I think you gotta just search Breathing Theory, or maybe it's Breathing Theory merchlive.com. But if they go to our Facebook page, they can find the links to the new merch website and order stuff. But
absolutely, and I'll post all the links in the description when this gets posted.
Oh yeah. They can follow whatever links that you attach. But yeah, man, once this is all cleared up and we're finally a safe country again, I'm ready to get back to some shows.
For sure, man. Cory, thanks again for doing this, man. This is just so awesome to talk to you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me, and just people listening and getting. I love getting to kind of reminisce on some of the old stories. Maybe one day we'll have to sit down and actually tell some of the old tour stories and just crazy stuff that's happened over the years. I'm sure some fans out there would love to hear about it.
I would love that, man. Anytime you want to come back and do this again, please, feel free.
All right, that's awesome.
Thanks once again to Cory Britt of Breathing Theory. Breathingtheory.com is the website, and I'll have links to all their social media in the description here. Really great chance for me, like I mentioned earlier. He and I haven't really known each other all that well. I mean, we've certainly seen each other over the years, but it's probably the longest we've kind of sat down and had a one-on-one conversation, and hopefully it's not the last time. I feel like we're just scratching the surface of things we can talk about. I know he's got a lot of stories from the road. It'd be great to kind of talk with him about, being a lead singer and just sort of listening to his process, and in terms of performing, songwriting. I feel like there's a lot he and I could talk about, which would be really cool for you guys to listen to. So hopefully one of these days we'll have Cory on again. I'm always glad to have the Breathing Theory guys on my show. I'm always glad to be playing shows with them again, and we were lucky that we played in March, just before all this craziness happened with the coronavirus, the pandemic, COVID-19, whatever you want to call it. It's a strange time to be alive right now, and I hope wherever you're listening that you're well. Like I said, as we record this, all this is going on. Hopefully. Who knows? There might be people listening to this months or years from now, and hopefully they're saying, "Oh, well, they were all scared. It just ended up being a bunch about nothing." hopefully that is the case. Hopefully everything does get back to normal, or as normal as it can be. I'm not gonna lie. It's definitely a scary thing for me for a lot of reasons, and not just for myself and for my wife, but also for our two little girls. I worry about what kind of world we're leaving for them, or we're raising them in, I should say. It's but it's not something that we should despair about, because we all have each other. And it reminds me a lot of 9/11 and how people came together after that terrible event. And hopefully that'll be the case with this one, even if it's just for a little bit. The truth is, we're all in this together, and which is all the more reason I appreciate you listening to my podcast and subscribing, and just kind of staying in contact with me. And you can always do that by leaving a comment or emailing me at jackconnorpodcast@gmail.com. Because I always welcome your feedback. I always welcome your suggestions about how I can make this a better show, and what new ideas I can bring to this. I'm always hungry for that. And even nowadays, with everything that's going on in the world, hopefully it's a way for us to communicate with each other. It's something that I think we could all use right now. It's just that sense of togetherness. So I appreciate you following me. You can always follow me on Twitter at jackxconnor. Like me on Facebook at facebook.com/jackconnormusic. Also, feel free to check out both my bands, Vertebreaker, on facebook.com/vertebreakerband, and Mature Musical Pictures at maturemusicalpictures.com. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, like I mentioned before, you can leave them here, or email me at jackconnorpodcast at gmail.com, like I said. You can always tweet me with the hashtag Phoenix Report. And by all means, feel free to go back and listen to all the other episodes. I have a bunch of episodes with David Marfitt and Colin Morrison, both of whom were in Breathing Theory. Colin is still in Breathing Theory, of course, but yeah, a lot of great insight into how that band works. And if you're a Breathing Theory fan, you'll definitely want to go and check that out. So, and make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when new episodes come out. So thanks again for listening. Like I said, we're all in this together. We're going to get through it. I know we can. This has been the Phoenix Report. I'm Jack Connor. We'll see you later.